Welcome to DocPod. Hear health.
Welcome to DocPod. I'm here with Dr. Naomi Parrella, who is board certified in family medicine and obesity medicine, is the chief of lifestyle medicine at Rush University System in Chicago, also the medical director at Rush Center for Weight Loss and Lifestyle Medicine, and the chief medical officer at Zero Longevity Science, where they are expanding lifespan and health span of the human race. So thank you, Dr. Parrella, for joining us on DocPod. It is a pleasure to have you.
It is so fun to be here. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
It is my pleasure. So talk to me about maybe just that last term, health span, if you can. And in doing so, maybe start with a little bit about what you do, how you do it. I probably could have gone through about 10 more titles and responsibilities and positions that you hold. But I think you might be, straight from the horse's mouth a little bit better to describe that.
Yeah, so really what I do is I help people feel better and understand their health and their body. And so that might be with weight management, might be working with groups of people and helping them figure out how they can work better and create a better work environment. So it's more fun to work together. And it could also be as simple as just trying to figure out what is my body doing or telling me with these new health problems or trying to feel better. I have a lot of patients who will come in and see me who are told by their doctors that they're just fine. Their labs look good. All the workup is fine, but they feel like they're not fine. Something's just not right. And so they might come and just kind of try to understand what's going on. So it's really people who just want to understand a little bit more about their body and they might recognize something is off. And currently, my clinical work is with weight management. So people identify their weight is not where they want to be and they come and see me. And then it sort of opens the conversation to all the things that they might want to work on to feel better and, see the results on their body.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit about what you're doing with Zero Longevity as well, maybe specifically. Is that, I know it's in the same genre, of course, but talk to me about what Zero Longevity is, your part in it, if you can.
Yeah, so I didn't answer your question about health span. And health span is really about, I think about it as vitality, living the way you want to live, unlimited, unrestricted, the freedom to do what you want to do. And so health span, people want to be healthy so that they can do things and they don't have to feel terrible and they're unlimited. And that's really what we're talking about with health span is how many years can you have where you get to be free to do all the fun things you want to do. So at Zero Longevity, so we have an app, which is called Zero. And it's a fasting app. And fasting is a wonderful way to reset the body, to reestablish control, let your body know what's going on. And it gives you a moment to figure out and your body to self-assess without any new inputs what's going on. It can help your body clean house, reset. And that's why I really love it because it helps us to have a way to monitor and signal to the body, okay, this is a cleanup time. This is a time to recover. This is a time to recharge. And the body's designed to heal, repair, and thrive. And so if you give it an opportunity to do so, it will. So that's what we do. And in that process, it again helps with health span matching more closely what lifespan will be.
And those are two completely separate things. You could live till you're 120, but not be able to do anything for the last 40 years. So I won't say what's the point, but, what's the quality of life there? How do you extend that quality while extending the quantity, I'm certain, as well, with a healthy lifestyle. So healthy health style. There's a lot of different schools of thought on intermittent fasting, is what you were mentioning with the app. So I'd like to hear yours. So whether it's the time frame, whether it's the season of life, when should you, how long should you? I'm certain it's case by case, but maybe broad strokes here, and then we can dive a little deeper.
Yeah. So technically, humans are not supposed to be eating around the clock except when we're babies. right? So
Mm.
if you find yourself eating around the clock, that's signaling to the body, grow. And if you're done getting taller, there's really only one other way we grow, right? Sideways. And so, as a baby, of course, you have to grow really fast. So you might be nursing or, having your food frequently. And it seems like, even through the night.
Mm.
Now, as we get older, sometimes people will be eating at all hours of the night because we have lights, so we can stay up late. We go to parties, we hang out. Some people stay up for other reasons. And so it's easy to find ways to eat around the clock. Intermittent fasting is a way of being very deliberate about making it clear to your body, these are the hours for taking in nutrients and using them appropriately. And these
Mm.
are the hours that you don't have to worry about digestion of new things coming in, trying to manage the new stuff coming in, but you can do the repair, you can do the recovery, you can do the rebuild. And so intermittent fasting is a way in our modern culture and in ancient civilizations of giving very clear signals to the body. This is a reset time. And the more
Mm.
often you give yourself those resets, the more opportunities you have to continue trending in a better and better direction. So that's really the intermittent fasting. I think most people, after, if you're not nursing, if you're not planning to be pregnant, and, you're a grown up, most people do very well with a minimum of 12 hours of fasting out of 24 hours. And uh, some people extend that longer, and that's perfectly fine. But 12 hours is sort of like a standard. Most people should be able to do that.
And when you talked about the body resetting, so maybe let's dive deeper into that. I know a little bit about a little bit, so maybe enough to be moderately dangerous. But when you are fasting for, call it the standard 12, or if it's 15 or any longer, what does the body go through? What's that process look like? And maybe if you can even into the weeds more of hour by hour, right? At hour 4, at hour 12, at hour 15, what's the body doing? How is that good for me? And what are the benefits of that?
Yeah. So, the cool thing about fasting is when you first start fasting. So I don't really count fasting 2 hours, but let's say like 2, 3 hours, you're really burning through the blood sugar that you currently have circulating. Then it goes into burning glycogen, which is the stored glucose, the blood sugar, in muscles, in the liver, and you start burning through that. You have about 24 hours of that. Um, and then you switch into fat burning, or when you start producing ketones. And ketones, many people will understand that from like a keto diet or
Right.
ketogenic diet, but it's basically the product that comes from burning fat. And so as more hours continue on, you get into a fat burning state more and more. So more of the calories that your body is using to stay alive and to play and do all the things come from fat cells then. After a while, your body's really running on fat. Now, the wonderful thing about that is fat burns clean. So when you burn fat, you release carbon dioxide and water, meaning you're hydrating your body,
Mm.
right? So it's really cool because now it doesn't have any garbage coming in, and that's when it starts really amping up the immune functions and the reset. So we get into a fat burning mode because the insulin has a chance to drop from not eating foods that cause insulin to skyrocket. Insulin, when it's low, it allows your body to automatically turn on fat burning. Now you're burning fat, you're infusing your body with water, you're breathing off carbon dioxide, and your body is running very clean. Now it's able to really start resetting the intestinal lining. So, anybody who has leaky gut, other dysfunctions like that. And as you continue on, your body starts breaking down the tissues, the immune system kicks up, and it's able to look around the body and find the cells that are not perfect, that aren't working as well. And it starts breaking those down. And people might have heard of the term autophagy,
Mm.
which is the breakdown and recycling of components of the body that are not perfect anymore. So as that recycling happens, your body then is sort of cleaning out and preparing for repair. Then when you do go to eat, whenever that is, you are going to allow your body to rebuild new cells, because every part of your body has instructions, right? We have the DNA, which are the instructions how to build a whole human.
Mm-hmm.
So you start replacing the cells that needed to be replaced. And this is why we see that for some individuals, even with cancer, they benefit from times of fasting because it cleans out the cells that are not functioning well. And the body's immune system can focus on that instead of trying to focus on what did you just eat or drink. So
Mm-hmm.
it's quite powerful to have this opportunity for your body to clean house. Now, if you are eating a relatively healthy diet, your stress levels are well managed, you're getting some times of good sleep, and you're being physically active, your body doesn't have to clean up that much. It's got a regular routine going. So you might not need to do longer fasts. You might be just fine doing your 12 hours, very clear. This is when I eat and this is when I don't eat. And other individuals have a little catch up to do. So they might benefit from a little bit longer fast. For example, we find a lot of individuals with type 2 diabetes, their body's sort of been on overload where maybe it hasn't had a chance to get into fat burning in a long time. And so those individuals do really well if they can extend the fast a little longer. And then that resets, and we find many individuals can improve their blood sugars, their cholesterol levels, blood pressures, all sorts of chronic conditions that are signals from the body that it just hasn't had enough time to recover in
Right.
between insults.
Was wondering, so as the app tracks all of the progress and gives you metrics and data on where you've been, where you're going, and everything in the middle. So is it basically just 101 for intermittent fasting? Are there other parts of the application that are bolt-ons that would guide in diet, in even shopping or exercise or things like that? So what's kind of the all-inclusivity?
Yeah, so the app is primarily a fasting app, and it will help people sort of set their schedules and determine. Maybe initially somebody will just say, I'm just going to fast from alcohol. Then maybe they're going to add fasting from sugars. And maybe some people will say, okay, now my next cycle is going to be fasting completely other than for water. But whatever, it's primarily starting with fasting as a reset. There's a place for food logging, exercise. It does sort of sync with, for example, anything on a smartphone that's measuring your biometrics. And the goal is to identify the patterns and to be very deliberate so that you can maximize the health benefits to improve that longevity, that health span, making it as simple as possible. So the thing I see is a lot of people will come into my clinic and they'll say, Dr. Parrella, I am going on this new health kick and I want you to join this, with me, help me figure out what to do. And I say, okay, what do you want to do? And they might say something like, well, I'm never going to eat cupcakes again. I'm going to exercise 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they're kind of laughing. And we all know there's not a single person on the planet that's perfect forever,
Right.
right? And so life throws curveballs. And so what we want to do is find the things that are really simple and easy to help reset, to be able to be successful, that allows your body to thrive without it having to be a full-time job. Because you might be like, well, right now I'm between jobs, so I have all the time in the world, or it's summer break and I'm a teacher and now I have some time. Okay, but that's not always going to be the case, or you might not be focused on it all the time. We want people to be successful long term. It is not fun to, for example, lose weight and then gain it back, right?
Right.
That is so miserable. So what we want is long-term success. So I think it really, really helps to understand you've got to have a reset ritual. And that's kind of what we're trying to train is there's so many different ways to reset. And it usually starts with becoming aware by tracking
Mm-hmm.
and then establishing something very simple. Can you get to that 12-hour fasting? Can you then inch it up a little bit if you have new health problems? Just trying to make it so simple. And it's actually cheaper, right? If you're fasting, you don't have to then worry about meal preps and whatever for that one meal.
Right, exactly. Maybe changing gears for a little bit, there's a recent or newer wave of men's and women's health initiatives by way of peptide regimens and hormone regulation. And everybody has heard of Ozempic. Not everybody has heard of tirzepatide, which was maybe a year ago, a little less, FDA approved for weight loss, and I've spoken with some other physicians about its implications with sleep apnea as well.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on? I don't want medically enhanced is probably the wrong term, but medically supervised peptide regimens, the application of them within a weight loss regimen or plan. Do you do any of that, or have you seen it? And tell me a little bit about what you think.
We absolutely use medications for the right individuals, and we're seeing there's more and more people who benefit, right? So cardiovascular risk reduction, type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, fatty liver. There's a lot of benefits that we're seeing. Even some, signal around substance abuse. Food, disordered eating and food patterns also can often be very well regulated using some of these new medications. And so it's really, really important to do it well. So what I mean by that is these medications have a physiologic effect in the brain and in the gut, as well as in other tissues. But those are really the primary areas we look at. In the brain, it makes it so that you just will be satisfied with less food, which means less eating. This can be fabulous as long as what you are eating hits the nutrient requirements of your body. Right? So some people will say, this is so great. I'm taking this medication, let's say Wegovy or Zepbound, right? Those are the two name brands for weight management, otherwise known as semaglutide or tirzepatide. Those medications, yes, they will cause you to eat a lot less for a period of time. The challenge is if you are eating one Oreo and being thrilled because you can still eat your Oreos and you don't have to eat the whole bag anymore. You're fine with just one, but then you're full. You don't actually want to eat the nutrients. You don't want to eat the protein that your body needs. You don't want to eat vegetables because you're already full from that one Oreo.
And
that would be
malnutrition
terrible,
is not a
right?
strategy for anyone.
No. And so what happens is people are very thrilled. They're like, I'm losing weight. I can survive on one Oreo. And the problem is they lose muscle. In that scenario, one of the things this medication does is it increases the insulin response of the body in relation to foods that spike insulin. So Oreos, if you eat a lot of them, they cause weight gain because they increase your insulin, which turns off fat burning and turns on fat building.
Right.
So you can imagine if you turn off fat burning with your one Oreo with your, let's say, tirzepatide, and you don't have enough fuel to run your body, so your body is going to start burning down fuel. If you have high insulin, you cannot burn fat. So where is your fuel going to come from? Your muscles.
Right.
So this is exactly the problem. So we have to make sure people will eat appropriate foods when they are eating. So I always say, if you're going to be on one of these medications, you have to eat protein first. Now, the second thing is it acts at the gut. And at the gut, it slows the movement of food through the gut. So your gut is like a conveyor belt, right? It moves the food through. And because it slows down the movement of food, it's easy to have an experience where people are burping, they feel nauseated, heartburn is increased. So that means you cannot eat within 3 hours of bedtime if you really want to protect your esophagus and not have a lot of heartburn and damage related to that.
Right.
You also have to stay hydrated. So you have to drink extra water because as the food sort of sits at each station because it's moving so slowly, the food dries out. It becomes like a brick because your body reabsorbs the fluids out of it. That means you have to keep flushing it with water to make sure it keeps moving forward. So there's like those three things you really have to pay attention to. If somebody's going to be on these medications, We require that they have adequate protein, that they drink a lot of fluids so that their urine is mostly clear, and that they are not eating within 3 hours of bedtime or through the night,
Right.
because then the food can cause damage to the esophagus as it, washes up while you're sleeping.
And so whether you're medicated or you have help from some of these medications, or if it's just natural through fasting, through workout, diet, exercise, whatever it may be, it's still a lifestyle change, and it's a mindset change, because there's no such thing as a magic wand or a button that you can push. While these drugs or medications help with that, just as you mentioned, you could eat an Oreo and be full, but you can eat an Oreo and die potentially if
Yeah.
you just don't feed your body the nutrients that it needs. So talk to me a little bit about just education or evangelism of the health span increase or the lifestyle changes that need to be made in a 50+% obese population.
So let's clarify a couple things. Weight loss. People come in and they ask for weight loss. Medications, lifestyle, it can cause weight loss. What we're really talking about is fat mass loss.
Mm-hmm.
The tissues that, not muscle, not bone. We don't want to lose that weight, right? So you have to be clear. Weight loss is when people are seeking weight loss, what they're actually seeking is feeling better, looking better, right? That they want to look in the mirror and be like, oh, that's me in the mirror. Oh, I feel great. I might not need these medications after all, or I can decrease the dosages, right? Or I'm preventing cancer or disease. That's what people are seeking. And so there's lots of ways you can lose weight. You can have cancer and lose weight, right? Not beneficial. So again, we have to be really clear what we're going for. And when we're talking about weight loss for good reasons, for health, we're talking about extending lifespan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're getting rid of unnecessary, excessive amounts of weight in the wrong places, like in your liver, right? So yes, there are things we can do. And so medications, surgeries, those are all tools that help achieve the goal of healthy weight loss, but they can be misused and they can also cause problems. So no matter what, you still got to get the lifestyle things. So here's what I have a series of things that I expect my patients to be able to master over time, that then they feel great,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like so much fun. So first, one of the fun things is connecting with others in ways that feels nourishing. So Jeremy, you are fun to talk to, right? So it's like a recharge. So I feel great when I'm talking to you. That's health promoting for me. It's actually healthy for me to be talking to you, right?
It gets the endorphins up, the energy, everybody's smiling, we're happy. Exactly.
Exactly. And then adequate rest, so that I have the energy to want to do things. Because a lot of times we stay up late, there's, social media, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fun, personal time, etc. We might not prioritize sleep, and then that might be a challenge. So adequate rest helps your hormones settle down. It does a lot of cleanup in the brain, so your brain can feel happy the next day, right? So it's really, really important. In addition, adequate solitude. Solitude is a lack of outside words coming in. So whether it's from social media, people talking to you, television, whatever it is, you want to let your brain have time to just kind of process what's happened. And so you want to limit the inputs other than what you're thinking about. So whatever you're thinking about, that's fine. You can be journaling, doing all of that. This would be like the meditation, nature exposure, quiet time. We do this with kindergartners, right? We carve out some time. We're like, this is quiet time now.
Right.
Might be called a timeout.
That was my favorite subject, was nap time.
Totally. It's a moment to let your body and your brain just kind of be like, okay, what's going on? Okay, we're okay. We're good, right?
Right.
Temperature regulation. So this is things, these would be things like the cold plunge, getting in a sauna, letting your body continue to sort of flex back and forth, being able to manage temperature. And anyone who's had children and taken them to a pool or a beach or pond or whatever, they know the child sleeps really well after they've been in cold water,
That's right.
right? And it's the same thing for any of us at any age. It just helps the body sort of burn fuel, sort of clean and reset. Hydration. If you don't have enough water, your body has to hold on to fat, extra fat, so that you can stay hydrated,
Right.
which is a whole nother thing. So adequate hydration. Then we get to the lifestyle factors that allow insulin to come down for periods of time. That's when we're talking about the zone 2 cardio or the walking. We're talking about fasting, allowing that insulin to come down. We're talking about avoiding or postponing the foods that spike insulin, the high sugar foods, the ultra processed foods, the starchy carbs. And we're also talking about limiting the frequency of eating. So many of us have been told you should eat like a bird, eat a little bit all day long. So you're eating like 6 or 7 times a day. That's actually not helpful if you're trying to manage weight, right? Mm-hmm. Because your body never gets a chance to take care of itself because it's constantly trying to figure out what's coming in. And it's great if you're a bodybuilder because you're burning so much energy exercising all the time. But if you're not, like I'm not a bodybuilder, so it would not be helpful for me. Those would be some of the things. And then, of course, alcohol is a toxin to the liver. So if you ingest alcohol, it's fine. But just know your body then has to detox the liver, right? It has to clean house and repair cells. You want to have some activities that build muscle or that signal to your body you have enough resources to build muscle. So whether it's high intensity interval training, strength training, or eating 30 or more grams of protein at a time, those would all be things to do. Then tracking, if you feel like your waistline is expanding, something's off balance, it's a good time to start tracking, whether it's your sleep, your food intake, your fasting. And then finally, the reset ritual. You have got to have a reset ritual because almost always, actually, I have yet to have a patient. I've treated thousands of patients. I've not met a person who doesn't need a reset ritual. And what that is you might be doing some really great things for your health, but then a vacation, a celebration, a death, a sickness, a surgery, an anniversary, something disrupts the routine, and it's very easy to veer off course. And you always want to have a way that you tell your brain, I'm resetting, I'm getting back on track, I'm going to take care of you. And if your body learns that earlier from patterns of practicing a reset ritual, then you can do it relatively easily. So you can be like, okay, Thanksgiving, I'm going to town, I'm eating all the stuff.
Right.
And then, maybe Friday you have leftovers, and then Saturday I'm back on and I have a reset ritual.
And it takes, I would say, just a lot of, mental fortitude. And technically intestinal fortitude, I guess, as we're talking about this, but even so, but to be able to do that, implement, and then maintain, because as you mentioned with some of those examples, life happens and it comes at you very quickly. Sometimes it's unexpected. You can't plan for anything other than, today. Really, tomorrow is a gift and we don't know what's coming, whether it's on our calendar or not. So you could have Thanksgiving planned all you want, but as you mentioned, a death could happen or anything comes up that throws off your schedule. So to be able to get back to that, the reset is probably the most important because everything else falls in line afterwards, it seems like.
That's exactly it. That reset is a way to, and you might have many different kinds of resets, right? People have a reset if they have a temper tantrum. They're like, wait, I need a timeout. That's their own reset, right? And usually a reset is a pause where then you sort of recollect yourself and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is where intermittent fasting shines. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do anything extra. You just don't do too much, right? So it's like,
do less.
Pause. Yeah, exactly. It's so much easier than, I'm going to go out and get all new groceries and I'm going to toss out the chips. No, just pause. Just take a pause.
Yeah. And I think, as you just mentioned, right, that's probably, it was for me anyways, when I got into meal planning and prepping and the shopping and just the lists and it's overwhelming. And I'm in pretty good shape and I exercise regularly. And but with that said, even for me, who I eat pretty healthily, to try to get on that regimen when you haven't been on it is akin to a New Year's resolution, and you're in the gym for 3 weeks and then you're sore and you hate it and you quit and you don't do it anymore. And then you're back to probably worse than square one.
Yeah.
So with that reset, again, do less. There's not much you have to do other than don't eat. And in a specific period of time, of course,
Correct.
and find Dr. Perella, right? Or someone like her who can help guide you through the process, and or download the app, the Zero app, which is, I'm sure, extremely helpful for the novice, maybe uneducated, but just unaware person who is looking to lose weight, maintain maybe weight, or just get
Yeah.
through the next 5 weeks of holidays and drinking and eating and partying and not sleeping, and then get back on it on January, let's call it the 3rd. So just to give a little bit of leeway, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good plan, and I'm excited about what you're doing. I think that America needs it, but the world in general. And I've seen the application of some of what you mentioned, not all, in my own life, and it's done wonders. Just as far as the health span and doing things that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do as I'm now 40. Everything is broken. Everything hurts all the time. So, and it's only going to get worse if your health span isn't extended, or mine, or everyone else's. So, Dr. Bell, I appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a blast and educational for myself and hopefully everybody else that's listening, I'm certain. But thank you for your time and for sharing it with me.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. And thank you for the service that you're providing for everyone else, because this is really important stuff and people want to know.
Well, I certainly hope so, and I'm excited for the lives that this episode touches digitally, but then whom you're treating physically in the Chicago and surrounding area at Rush. But again, thanks so much. It's been an absolute pleasure spending some time with you.
Thank you so much.